Let's call this video Introduction to Fishing Reels for Preppers. I've been fishing for quite a while now, and I've fished a lot of different tournaments from the East Coast all the way to Hawaii, freshwater fishing. And when I'm fishing for pleasure, whether taking my kids out there or fishing on my own just because that's my only real hobby, I see a lot of different people out there and they're fishing. Some of them have their rods upside down, their reels upside down. Some of them don't know how to tie on a hook or a weight or whatever. And this is what this series is really intended for. I'm by no means an expert at any of this, but just going to go over today. Let's just discuss fishing reels. There's three main types of fishing reels. I'm not talking about fly reels, but ones that are going to go on a fishing pole. And you have at the bottom spinning reels, also known as open face reels. The next row is your bait casting or bait caster reels, and then the last row is your spin cast reels. Alright, and we're going to go over each one of these reels and some of the characteristics of them. So let's first start off with your spin cast. Spin cast reels are great for children. They're easy to use, and in fact you only have one setting, and that's the drag. If you don't know what the drag is what controls how much pressure it takes to pull your line out of your reel. And when you're fighting a fish, your drag is used to keep that fish on the line by providing pressure on the hook so it can't shake it out past the barb. It also wears down the fish as you're fighting it. And that's the reason why I see a lot of people lose fish is that get way too excited and keep reeling, and their drag's telling them, it makes this buzzing noise telling you, hey, don't go anymore, and they twist up their line and all these other things. But that's what your drag is. And again, the drag is going to control how much pressure it takes to pull your line out of your spool. And that's really your only setting with the spin cast reel. These are great reels for kids, like I've stated. They're cheap. You can pick them up at Walmart for a few bucks, 10, 20 bucks. A rod and reel combo with a little bit of fishing gear. And they're very easy to use for children. The only thing that they have to learn how to do is press this button in, and when they throw, release the button while holding onto the pole, and it's going to cast. And some of them can cast pretty good distances. But that's a spin cast reel. The next option is a bait cast or bait caster, and this is what the pro bass fishermen are going to be using. And the saltwater fishermen, they use one like this, just a little bit bigger. And we'll get into size in a minute. But a bait cast reel has several more controls than any of the other fishing reels out there. The drag system is usually right here on the handle, and it looks like a star, and this is going to control the drag on those. You also have another control here, which controls how fast the line drops, and then you have a brake control, which slows down the line at the end of a cast. With bait casters, though, there's some downsides to them until you really understand how to use them. And that's this: when you cast it, this spool is spinning pretty quickly, and it likes to backlash. The other models, the spool is stationary, meaning it doesn't move. But this one, the spool moves, and it goes pretty quickly if you cast something out there pretty hard. And so what will happen is if you have a bad cast or you don't stop the line, then you'll get a backlash. So that's what turns a lot of people off from bait cast reels. And I went through 3 of them. I just thought they were broken. I didn't know what I was doing until I finally figured out how to use one. But this is my go-to fishing reel, at least for bass fishing. And when I have 10 poles on my boat, probably 9 of them are in bait cast reels. They're more durable. They're hard to break. They can have really good drag systems on them. One thing to know about bait cast reels is that if you're going to get into them, invest the money. Buy a good one. Don't buy a El Cheapo, because there is a big difference between the good models, more expensive ones, and the budget ones. But that's a bait cast reel. The next option is a spinning reel, and if you're new to fishing or trying to move up from a spin cast, I would recommend that you get spinning reels. And for preppers, this is one of my significant recommendation is get you a spinning reel, or a couple of them. I really don't like those Altoids fishing can kits, that people put together so they can put in their pocket. It's not really practical, and we'll have a video over what I recommend to have for a survival situation later, but you really need a rod and a reel if you ask me. A lot of people are going to rely on a gill net that they've never used or never matched to the size of the fish that live in their area, and I just think those are bad things to do. But to me, if I'm going to bug out or for survival purposes, I'm going to have a rod and reel on me, and we'll even discuss how I carry one in my bug out bag. But there's different sizes before we get into the actual reel. On your far left, we have a 10 series reel. There's actually another smaller one. It's a micro reel, 5 series micro reel. You have the next two are 20 series reels. One has a wider, deeper spool. The other one has a taller, narrower spool. But they're both 20 series reels. The fourth one is a 50 series, and then the last one's a 70 series. So let's look at the 10 and the 70 side by side. This is a 70 series reel. You can see it's a good size reel. The characteristics are going to be the same compared to a 10 series reel. The only difference is the size. You can see the 70 series is a lot bigger than the 10 series. Your 10 to 30 series reels are what I consider general fishing reels, and they can catch almost any fish out there. If you're fighting big fish, you probably want to have a larger reel so you have a lot more line capacity in case they want to do a long run. But a 10 to 20, 30 series reel are great general fishing reels. When I'm bass fishing, I probably use a 20 to 30 series reel more often. But sometimes, depending on some techniques, I might have a 10 series reel with me. Your 50 or larger are more intended for larger fish. And, if I'm going to go catfishing, like I've already stated, I use a 70 series reel. So let's talk about the features of, spinning reels. Pretty simple. At the top is the drag control, and you move it left or right. Clockwise is going to tighten the drag. Counterclockwise is going to release the drag. And the only other thing that you really need to know about a spinning reel is the anti-reverse switch, which is usually located right here. And anti-reverse is if it's disengaged, your reel can spin freely. And that's not always a good thing. And if it's engaged, your reel can only spin one way. Again, the drag is going to allow line to come out. I have my drag pretty tight right now, so it's hard for me to pull it out. If I loosen my drag, it comes out pretty easily. And that's what's going to help you fight the fish. As they're running, you can use your drag to tire them down. But that's really your only two things that you need to know about a spinning reel, is the drag control up at the top and then the anti-reverse at the bottom. Alright. Also, with most spinning reels, you can adjust which side they're on. Whereas your spin cast and your bait casters, you really have to get right or left hand models. And there's really not too many settings. I guess with spin cast, some of them you can switch the reel around. But with your bait cast, you do have to buy a right or left hand model. This is only on this right side. I can't switch it over to the left side. Alright. But the spinning reel, what you can do, and this is how you hold a spinning reel on your rod. I see some people have it upside down like this and they reel backwards towards them, and it makes me laugh. But this is how you hold it on your rod. What you can do is release this button on the side. This one's pretty tight. Let me get a different one. And just twist this knob right here. Alright, so it's off. Then you can take your handle out, switch it over to the other side, and then tighten this back again. Alright, before I get it too tight, I'll discuss another thing. If you want to put in your bug out bag, right now it's kind of a weird shape. Most of them can bend. If you release this enough, what will happen is then you can tighten it back down, and basically what you've done is you compacted this reel just a little bit. Again, comparing it to this one. Alright, I don't have this excess handle out here on the side, so I can then take this now and put it in my bug out bag. So that's another reason why I like a spinning reel. But that's the introduction to fishing reels. And again, at the top you have spin cast, middle row you have bait casters, and the bottom row you have spinning reels. And for the prepper, I always recommend a spinning reel. Just a lot more capability, ease of use compared to the other ones. They're more durable, and you can switch out some of the components. And another reason why I like them is most of them come with 2 spools. So you can spool one with like 6-pound line as well the other one with like 10 to 15-pound line if you want to. So you can quickly customize your line to the fish that you're trying to catch. Please let us know if you have any questions, and we'll have another video out shortly on fishing.